Joseph, From Pit to Palace. A faithful Bible retelling from Genesis 37 to 50. Jacob, the son of Isaac and grandson of Abraham, had 12 sons. But of them all, he loved Joseph most, because he was the son of his old age, born to him by his beloved wife Rachel. Jacob made Joseph a coat of many colors, a sign of great favor. When his brothers saw how their father loved him more than them, they hated him and could not speak peaceably to him. One day, Joseph had a dream. He told it to his brothers. "We were binding sheaves in the field, and behold, my sheaf arose and stood upright, and your sheaves gathered around and bowed down to mine." This only fueled their hatred. Then he had another dream and said, "Behold, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowed to me." Even Jacob rebuked him for this one, asking, "Shall I and your mother and your brothers indeed come to bow ourselves to you?" But Jacob kept the matter in mind. Some time later, Jacob sent Joseph to check on his brothers who were pasturing the flock in Shechem. When they saw him coming, they conspired to kill him. "Here comes the dreamer," they mocked. "Let us kill him and throw him into a pit. We'll say a wild beast devoured him." But Reuben, the eldest, tried to rescue him. "Let's not shed blood. Throw him into this pit in the wilderness, but don't lay a hand on him." Reuben planned to return later and rescue him. When Joseph arrived, they stripped him of his colorful coat and threw him into a dry pit. Then, as they sat down to eat, they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead. Judah said, "What profit is it if we kill our brother and hide his blood? Let's sell him." So they sold Joseph to the traders for 20 pieces of silver. Reuben returned and found the pit empty. He tore his clothes in grief. The brothers dipped Joseph's coat in goat's blood and brought it to their father. Jacob, heartbroken, mourned for many days, believing his beloved son was dead. Joseph was taken to Egypt and sold to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh and captain of the guard. But the Lord was with Joseph, and he prospered. Potiphar saw that the Lord made all Joseph did succeed and made him overseer of his house. Now Joseph was handsome. Potiphar's wife cast longing eyes on him and said, "Lie with me." But Joseph refused. "My master trusts me with everything. How can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?" Day after day, she pursued him. One day, she caught him by his garment. Joseph fled, leaving it behind. She falsely accused him, claiming he tried to assault her. Potiphar was furious and threw Joseph into prison. But again, the Lord was with Joseph. The keeper of the prison entrusted Joseph with all the prisoners. One day, Pharaoh's butler and baker were thrown into prison. They each had troubling dreams, and Joseph interpreted them. The butler would be restored to his position in 3 days, but the baker would be executed. And so it happened. Joseph asked the butler, "Remember me when it is well with you." But the butler forgot. 2 years passed. Then Pharaoh had dreams. 7 fat cows came out of the Nile, followed by 7 thin cows that devoured the fat ones. Then 7 full ears of grain were eaten by 7 thin ones. No one could interpret them. The butler remembered Joseph and told Pharaoh. Joseph was brought from the prison, cleaned up, and brought before Pharaoh. Pharaoh said, "I've heard you can interpret dreams." Joseph replied, "It is not in me. God will give Pharaoh an answer of peace." Joseph explained the dreams. 7 years of abundance would come, followed by 7 years of famine. He advised Pharaoh to store up grain during the good years. Pharaoh was impressed. Can we find such a man in whom is the Spirit of God? He made Joseph second only to himself, clothed him in fine linen, placed a gold chain on his neck, and gave him a new name, Zaphanath-Paaneah. The years passed. Just as God said, 7 years of plenty came, and Joseph stored grain. Then the famine hit, and all nations came to Egypt to buy food, including Joseph's brothers. When they came, they bowed before him, not recognizing their brother. Joseph recognized them but kept silent. He tested them, accused them of being spies, and demanded they bring their youngest brother, Benjamin, to prove their honesty. They returned home and told Jacob. Reluctantly, Jacob allowed Benjamin to go. When Joseph saw Benjamin, he was overwhelmed and wept privately. He prepared a feast for them and tested their hearts by placing a silver cup in Benjamin's sack. When it was discovered, Joseph accused him of theft. Judah stepped forward and offered himself as a slave in Benjamin's place. That was the breaking point. Joseph wept aloud. "I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt." His brothers were terrified, but he reassured them, "Do not be distressed. God sent me before you to preserve life." He hugged Benjamin and kissed each of his brothers. Pharaoh heard and welcomed them. Joseph sent for Jacob and all his household. Jacob came to Egypt with 70 of his family members. Joseph met him in Goshen and fell on his neck and wept. "Now let me die, since I have seen your face and know you are alive," Jacob said. Years later, Jacob died. Joseph's brothers feared he might now take revenge, but Joseph said, "Do not fear. You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to save many people." Joseph lived a full life and died at 110 years old, leaving a legacy of faith, forgiveness, and God's sovereign plan.